The galaxy had seen many ships, but never one like this. It was small. Too small. The alien council laughed when they saw it. A single human ship entering the war front? It looked like a mistake, a piece of scrap metal wandering where it didn't belong. But humanity had no choice. A distress signal had echoed across the void, weak, broken, but unmistakable. A colony was under attack. The larger human fleets were too far. Only one experimental warship, the Resolute, was near enough to respond. And so, with engines blazing and a single captain at the helm, the ship left orbit. It was a gamble. A dangerous one. But humanity was known for dangerous gambles. The alien races watching the transmission from their high council chambers were amused. This is their savior, one reptilian overlord hissed. One ship. A machine being laughed, its voice a distorted echo of metal. They think bravery replaces firepower. Pathetic. Yet the human ship did not turn away. It did not hesitate. It flew straight into enemy-controlled space, a place where no other race dared go without a fleet of hundreds. Inside the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Kalen Vey stared at the stars rushing past. His crew was small, but every one of them had been handpicked. Engineers, pilots, and gunners worked silently, their faces tight with focus. They knew the odds. They knew the ship's armor was untested, its weapons still experimental. But no one said a word about retreat. "Captain," the ship's AI spoke softly, its tone eerily human. "We are entering hostile range. Enemy detection in 40 seconds. Kalen didn't answer. He just tightened his grip on the armrest and watched the approaching system, a red dwarf star surrounded by debris. Somewhere in that chaos, the human colony waited. Somewhere beyond it, the enemy fleet loomed. And then, the first contact came. A massive alien cruiser appeared from behind a shattered moon. Its weapons glowed, ready to fire. Its crew sent out a transmission, mocking, laughing. The words cut through the silence of the bridge. "Turn back, little humans. You are out of your depth." But Kalen didn't flinch. He leaned forward, calm but cold. "Weapons, charge. No warnings." The alien laughter grew louder across the channel. "One ship against our fleet. You are already dead." And then, the Resolute fired. The first blast was silent in space, but its effect was not. A streak of blinding light tore across the void and struck the alien cruiser dead center. Shields shattered like glass. The alien laughter stopped. Smoke vented from ruptured hull plates. Before the enemy could respond, a second shot followed, a concentrated beam that sliced through armor and cut the cruiser in two. The bridge of the Resolute shook from the recoil, but no one spoke. The crew simply watched as the massive enemy ship split apart and burned in the void. One shot. Two shots. A ship 10 times larger, gone. The alien council chambers fell silent. One by one, the mocking smiles faded. Something wasn't right. That wasn't ordinary human firepower. That wasn't ordinary human courage. And then, the rest of the enemy fleet appeared. 5 ships. No, 10. They emerged from the shadow of asteroids, their weapons already locked. The colony signal pulsed weakly in the distance, as if begging for help it did not believe would come. Kalen's voice was steady, almost calm. "Targeting sequence. Full spread. We're not here to scare them. We're here to end them." His crew nodded, hands moving over controls, activating weapons the galaxy had never seen before. Cannons hummed with strange energy, experimental tech born from Earth's last desperate wars. The ship's hull glowed faintly, almost alive. The alien fleet opened fire first. Beams of plasma streaked through the void, missiles cut across the black. But the Resolute didn't dodge. It moved forward. Straight through the incoming fire. The first impact rocked the hull, but the armor held. Energy shields flared like sunlight on water. The alien council watched in disbelief. And then the Resolute unleashed hell. Cannons erupted, beams of light brighter than stars tearing across the fleet. One alien destroyer broke apart instantly. Another spun out of control, its engines exploding like miniature suns. But then, the readings came in. "Captain," the AI whispered, almost like a warning. "Energy reserves, critical. Weapon systems overheating. Kalen didn't respond. His eyes stayed fixed on the enemy fleet. He wasn't stopping. Not yet. The bridge lights dimmed. The air grew heavy. Every crew member felt the weight of what they were doing, pushing an untested ship to its limits. One wrong move, one misfire, and the galaxy's laughter would return. But still, the human ship pressed forward. And then, in the silence between battles, something even stranger happened. A second signal cut through the comms. It wasn't from the colony. It wasn't human. It was a warning. Human vessel. You are not fighting one fleet. You are fighting something far worse. Kalen froze, his hand hovering over the fire controls. What do you mean? He asked. But the signal cut off. And in the distance, something massive moved behind the enemy fleet. Something so large it blotted out the stars. The bridge went silent. No one spoke. No one dared breathe. And then Kalen said only one word. Prepare. The shadow moved like a living wall. It stretched across the void, hiding the stars and moons behind it. Even the enemy fleet, once confident, went silent. Their weapons stopped firing. Their ships slowly backed away. Inside the Resolute, the bridge was quiet. Too quiet. The only sound was the low hum of the ship's engines and the faint crackle of static on the comms. Captain Kalen Vey stared at the dark mass beyond the alien fleet. It was not a ship. It was too large, too uneven. Its surface shifted as if alive. Pulses of blue light flickered across it, like veins glowing under alien skin. "What is that?" whispered Lieutenant Mara, the weapons officer. No one answered. Not even the AI. Then, the AI spoke, its voice lower than before, almost hesitant. Analyzing, object, unknown. Composition, shifting. Energy readings, beyond scale. Captain, it is not a construct. It is alive. The crew exchanged silent glances. A living thing, larger than a fleet. The alien fleet moved first. They turned their weapons, not at the Resolute, but at the shadow. Beams of energy and plasma streaked toward the mass. They vanished on impact, swallowed by the darkness. No explosion. No shield flare. No damage. Then, the thing moved. Slowly, like a sleeping giant stirring for the first time in ages. Its surface rippled, forming jagged shapes, then smoothed again. A sound echoed across the void, not through speakers, not through comms, but directly in the minds of every living being nearby. A low, ancient sound. A voice. "You, awaken us." Mara grabbed her headset, her hands trembling. "Captain, was that?" "Yes," Kalen said quietly. It spoke. The alien ships panicked. Their formation broke. Some turned to flee. Others tried to fire again. But the shadow answered, not with weapons, but with light. A wave of blue energy erupted from its surface, sweeping across the battlefield. The first alien cruiser caught in the wave cracked apart, its hull glowing white-hot before shattering into dust. The next three vanished instantly, turned to ash without even a sound. Only 2 ships survived, and they fled at full speed, leaving the humans alone with the living mass. Kalen stood still. The voice returned. "Humans. You are small. But you are loud. Loud enough to wake us." The captain's jaw tightened. "Identify yourself." "We are hunger." The bridge grew colder. Not because of temperature, but because of the meaning behind that word. Hunger. "What do you want?" Kalen asked. The voice rumbled. "We feed. We have fed for eons. Stars. Worlds. Fleets. Civilizations. All return to dust. But you are new. Your fire is bright." Mara whispered, "Captain, it's talking about our weapons. It sensed them." Kalen didn't answer. He kept his eyes on the living mass. "What happens if we refuse to be eaten?" The shadow trembled. "Then, you burn brighter. Before you end." The AI spoke quickly now, its voice sharp. "Captain, energy levels are critical. If we engage, the ship may not survive." Kalen looked at his crew, every one of them staring back, waiting for his word. He saw fear, but not surrender. "Charge weapons," he said. The crew obeyed. No hesitation. The shadow shifted again, almost amused. Brave, but small. And then, the colony's signal flared. Weak, but there. Still calling for help. Still alive. Kalen spoke through clenched teeth. "Plot course. Straight through it." Mara's eyes widened. "You want to fly through that thing?" "Yes." "That's suicide." "Not yet," Kalen said. "Not if we burn brighter than anything it's ever seen." The AI warned, shields will fail. Hull integrity will collapse. Probability of survival, less than 3%. Kalen almost smiled. "Then we'll make it 4." The engines roared. The Resolute surged forward, toward the massive, living shadow. The hunger stirred. Interesting. Then, with a ripple of impossible speed, it moved to block their path. Its surface opened, not like a mouth, but like a tear in reality itself. Beyond it lay darkness. Endless. Hungry. Kalen's voice was calm. "All guns. Full power. Fire on my mark." The crew braced. Weapons locked. Energy reserves bled into the cannons, making the entire ship glow. The voice spoke again, softer this time. Almost curious. "What do you think will happen, little fire?" Kalen answered in a whisper. "We teach you fear." Then, fire. The ship erupted with light. Beams tore across the shadow's surface. Energy so bright it lit the entire sector. The hunger recoiled, its surface rippling violently. The tear closed. The voice grew louder, no longer calm. Now, it screamed. The ship dived through the opening before it sealed. The hull groaned. Shields shattered. Alarms blared. But the Resolute broke through. And beyond the living mass, the colony appeared. Damaged. Burning. But alive. Kalen exhaled slowly. "Prepare landing teams. Evac operation. We're not done yet." But behind them, the hunger began to follow. The colony hung in low orbit above a scorched planet. Fires burned across its surface. Life signs were faint, scattered, some deep underground, others inside a damaged orbital station that looked ready to collapse. On the bridge of the Resolute, warning alarms still pulsed. The ship's shields were gone, engines running at half capacity. But Kalen didn't slow. "Status of the colony?" he asked. The AI answered, voice urgent. "Severe structural damage. Atmosphere breached in several sections. Estimated survivors, less than 5,000. Lieutenant Mara looked at the readouts, her hands trembling. "That's less than 10% of the population." Kalen's eyes hardened. "We save who we can." Behind them, space rippled. The hunger moved closer. Not fast, but steady. Its surface shivered like liquid shadow, sending out tendrils of light that brushed across nearby asteroids, dissolving them like mist. "We don't have much time," Mara whispered. Kalen opened comms to the colony. "This is Captain Kalen Vey of the Resolute. Hold on. Help is here." At first, no answer. Only static. Then, a weak voice, broken by interference. "Human. Thought, no one, coming." "We're here now," Kalen said. "Prepare survivors for immediate evacuation. We don't have long." The AI interrupted. "Captain. Sensors detect secondary signatures approaching. Alien fleet. Multiple ships. Estimated arrival, 4 minutes." Mara cursed under her breath. Not just the hunger. They called for reinforcements. Kalen turned to the crew. "Engineering, restore shield capacity. Weapons, recalibrate for sustained fire. Helm, plot approach for orbital drop." "Captain," the AI warned, "with current power levels, we can either defend against the hunger or the fleet, not both." Kalen paused. "Then we'll have to choose." But before the choice could be made, the hunger spoke again. "Humans, persistent. Your fire is bright, but so fragile." The crew froze. The voice was no longer distant. It was inside their heads. Clear. Cold. Hungry. Kalen spoke aloud, as if the creature could hear. You want us. You'll have to earn us. We do not hunt, we consume. And then, tendrils of dark energy lashed out. The first strike hit the colony's orbital station, tearing through its outer shell like paper. Explosions flared. Debris scattered into space. Hundreds of lives vanished in seconds. Kalen clenched his fists. Weapons. Target those tendrils. Fire. Beams from the Resolute lanced outward, cutting through the void, striking the glowing strands. One shattered, disintegrating in a flash of blue sparks. But two more kept coming, one striking an asteroid, another reaching toward the planet below. Helm, full burn. Put us between that thing and the colony. The ship lurched forward, sliding between the tendril and the planet. The hunger paused, then released a low, guttural sound, almost like laughter. But then, the alien fleet arrived. 10 ships emerged from hyperspace, their hulls gleaming with alien metals. They saw the Resolute holding position between the hunger and the planet, and they opened fire. Bolts of plasma screamed across space, slamming into the human ship's hull. The impact shook the bridge, throwing crew members from their stations. Sparks rained from exposed panels. Return fire. Kalen barked. Mara obeyed, her hands moving fast. Cannons roared. 2 alien ships exploded in quick succession. But the others kept coming. Captain, the AI shouted. Hull integrity down to 46%. Engine temperature critical. Shields offline. Kalen's voice stayed calm. Prepare the drop pods. Mara's eyes widened. Now. In the middle of this. Now, Kalen said. While they're looking at us. Deep inside the Resolute, loading bays came alive. Drop pods sealed. Volunteers stepped inside, soldiers, engineers, medics. People who knew they might not come back. The AI asked quietly, "What are your orders for the ship, Captain?" Kalen didn't look away from the stars. "Keep firing." Then, to Mara, "Launch pods." The pods ejected from the belly of the ship, streaking toward the colony like falling stars. Alien fire tried to track them, but the Resolute unleashed a blinding volley, forcing the enemy fleet to take cover. On the colony's surface, the pods slammed into the ground, opening with blasts of white vapor. Human soldiers poured out, weapons ready, sprinting toward broken shelters where survivors waited. But above, things were getting worse. The hunger spread wider, its surface splitting open again, revealing a glow that was not light, but mouths. Dozens. Hundreds. Vast shapes opening and closing in the void. The Ari's voice shook now. "Captain, if that thing feeds, it will consume the colony, the fleet, and us. Everything." Kalen's reply was simple. "Then we don't let it feed." The alien fleet changed formation, focusing fire on the Resolute. Missiles tore through space, striking the hull. Explosions flared across the ship. Fire suppression systems screamed. Kalen gripped his chair, shouting over the chaos. "Power everything to forward cannons. Maximum charge." The AI protested. "That will drain life support within 5 minutes." "Then we finish this in 4, Kalen said. The forward cannons charged, glowing brighter, louder, hotter, until the metal around them began to warp. Energy built, humming like a star ready to be born. Mara stared at the readings. "Captain, if we fire at this level, the guns will tear themselves apart." Kalen's voice was cold. "Then let them." Behind them, the hunger leaned closer, its mouth stretching wide. The alien fleet surged forward, sensing victory. Kalen whispered one last word. "Fire." And the stars shook. The blast tore across space like a newborn star. The forward cannons of the Resolute erupted with impossible light, brighter than anything human eyes had seen. The void shook. The alien fleet shuddered under the shockwave. One ship disintegrated instantly. 2 more spun out of control, engines bursting into fireballs. The rest scattered, breaking formation, retreating to avoid the blast radius. But the hunger did not retreat. The beam struck its surface, burning holes through the living shadow, ripping open deep wounds that spilled glowing matter like liquid fire. The creature let out a sound, not words this time, but a roar so deep it rattled the bones of everyone who heard it. Inside the Resolute, alarms screamed. The forward cannons cracked under the stress, metal bending, pieces breaking loose. Entire sections of the ship flickered with failing power. But Kalen did not stop. "Keep the beam steady," he ordered. "Captain," the AI warned. "Structural collapse in cannon housing, 50%, 60. "Hold it!" Kalen shouted. The beam burned deeper. The hunger twisted, parts of it collapsing inward, forming jagged gaps that bled light into the darkness. But even as the wound spread, the shadow began to knit itself back together. Slowly, relentlessly. "It's healing," Mara whispered. The Ari's voice trembled. "Captain, we cannot win a battle of endurance." Kalen's hand hovered over the manual cutoff for the beam. His crew waited, holding their breath. Finally, he slammed it down. The blast ceased. The void went dark again, except for the faint, pulsating glow of the hunger's wounds. For a moment, the battlefield was silent. Only the faint hiss of the ship's damaged systems filled the bridge. Then the hunger spoke, its voice deeper now, darker. "You hurt us. Few have ever done so. But pain is not enough." Kalen leaned forward. "You'll find out what's enough." The shadow shifted, stretching long tendrils toward the colony. This time, they moved faster, like spears of liquid light. "Helm, move us into intercept," Kalen ordered. The ship jolted forward, engines straining. But the Resolute was slow now, damaged, bleeding energy. One tendril struck the colony's outer dome. Metal screamed. Entire sections collapsed, exposing civilians to the vacuum. Mara's voice broke. "Captain, they're dying down there." Kalen slammed his fist on the console. "Get me the landing teams." A burst of static, then a voice, "Ground team here. Evac proceeding, heavy resistance, colony collapsing, need more time." "You've got 3 minutes," Kalen said. "Hold." Then, to the crew, "Weapons. Give me everything we have left." "Captain," the AI said grimly, "remaining energy is barely enough to maintain life support." "Then shut it down," Kalen said. The AI hesitated. "If we do that." "Do it," Kalen snapped. The lights dimmed. Air circulation slowed. The hum of the ship's systems faded to a low whisper. All remaining power surged into the weapons grid. The hunger's tendrils lashed again, striking toward the planet. But this time, beams from the Resolute cut them down, 1, 2, 3, severed in flashes of burning light. The shadow roared again. Louder. Closer. "You cannot stop us, little fire." "Maybe not," Kalen said. "But we'll burn you for every inch you take." Suddenly, a new alarm shrieked. The alien fleet, what remained of it, had returned. Not to fight the Resolute, but to flee, directly past the human ship, diving toward hyperspace. Mara's eyes widened. "They're abandoning the sector." Kalen nodded grimly. "They know what's coming." The hunger moved again, larger now, stretching wide, pulling itself closer to the planet like a predator about to strike. Its wounds still glowed, but were sealing fast. Kalen turned to the AI. "Time until full healing." "Unknown," it replied. "But less than 10 minutes." "Then that's all the time we need," Kalen said. Below, on the colony, landing teams rushed civilians into pods, carrying wounded, shielding children with their own bodies. Explosions rocked the surface. Buildings fell. But still, they worked. On the bridge, Mara whispered, "Captain, if we stay any longer, we won't have the power to jump out." Kalen didn't answer. He watched the hunger moving closer, felt its voice vibrating in his bones. "We will taste you soon." Then, without warning, the AI spoke again. "Captain, detecting something strange. Inside the hunger. Readings, mechanical. Not biological." Kalen turned sharply. "Explain." "Unknown construct, deep within its core. Technology far beyond ours. It is not just alive. It is controlled." Mara froze. Controlled? By who? The Ari's reply was cold. By something worse. Kalen stood, staring at the shadow. Prepare coordinates for a shot straight into its core. Mara whispered, but if we hit that? We find out who's inside, Kalen said. And we find out what they want. The hunger surged forward. The ship's weapons charged one last time. And then, every console went black. The hunger had disabled the Resolute. The bridge went dark, the only light coming from the stars, and the enormous shadow now blotting out half of them. Kalen stood in the darkness. Calm. Silent. Then, the voice of the hunger returned. Now, we feed. Darkness filled the bridge. Systems were dead. Life support was running on emergency oxygen, barely enough for 30 minutes. The Resolute drifted, powerless, like a wounded predator waiting for the killing blow. But Captain Kalen was not done. Status, he said into the silence. The AI flickered faintly, its voice weaker now, almost like a whisper. Minimal backup power, weapons offline, engines offline, only auxiliary systems responding. Mara gripped her console. Captain, we're dead in the water. Kalen's eyes stayed on the viewing screen, on the massive, living shadow beyond. It loomed closer, tendrils writhing, mouths opening and closing like an endless sea of hunger. But his gaze wasn't on the mouths. It was on the faint glow deep within the creature's core. The mechanical signature. The thing controlling it. Prepare a boarding team, Kalen said. Mara turned to him in shock. Boarding? You're talking about going inside that thing? Yes. That's suicide. Kalen's tone was calm. Everything about today is suicide. But this might give us a chance. The AI added, Captain, scans suggest the core is approximately 3 kilometers inside its outer structure. Unknown composition. Unknown defenses. Probability of successful entry and return, less than 1%. Kalen almost smiled. That's better than 0. Minutes later, in the docking bay, a small shuttle hummed to life. Its hull was reinforced with experimental plating, meant for atmospheric entry, not diving into the body of a star-sized creature. But it was all they had. Kalen stepped aboard first. Mara followed, strapping herself into the co-pilot seat. You're coming too? Kalen asked. Mara nodded. If we're going to die, I'd rather see why. The shuttle detached from the Resolute, gliding through the dark toward the shadow. The creature did not stop them. It simply waited. As they neared, the surface of the hunger came into view, dark, wet, rippling like the skin of some titanic sea creature. It stretched endlessly, reflecting faint starlight. And then, it opened. A circular maw split the surface. No teeth. Just a tunnel of shimmering blue light. Mara whispered, It's letting us in. Kalen's grip tightened on the controls. Then let's not disappoint it. The shuttle entered. Inside, there was no space, no stars, no sense of direction. Only walls of living tissue, pulsing with blue veins, glowing faintly. The air shimmered as though thick with static energy. Gravity fields stabilizing, Mara reported, eyes wide. Captain, the interior is controlled. Artificially. Kalen nodded. Then we're going the right way. The Ari's voice came over the comm tracking signal. Mechanical core is ahead, bearing 059. Warning, energy readings increasing. Defensive response probable. As if on cue, the walls shifted. Tendrils of living matter erupted from the sides of the tunnel, striking toward the shuttle like spears. Kalen jerked the controls hard, the small craft rolling, dodging 1, 2, 3 strikes, until one slammed against the hull. The shuttle spun, alarms blaring. Mara screamed as sparks shot across her console. Kalen fought the controls, stabilizing at the last second. Damage, he barked. Mara checked. Shields gone. Hull integrity, 70%. One more hit like that, we're done. Kalen gritted his teeth. Then don't let it hit us. The shuttle sped deeper, weaving through twisting passages, past glowing sacs and pulsating walls. The deeper they went, the less organic it looked. Veins gave way to cables, tissue to blackened metal. The air shimmered more strongly now. And then, They saw it. The core. It hung in the center of a massive chamber, an orb of black metal wrapped in bands of glowing silver. Strange runes pulsed across its surface, alive with energy no human mind could decipher. Mara whispered, "That's not alien. Not like the fleets we've seen. This is older. Much older." Kalen nodded. "And someone, or something, is inside." As if answering her words, a voice, not the hunger's, echoed through the chamber. "So, you came." Kalen froze. "Identify yourself." The voice was calm, cold, almost amused. "We are the architects. The first. The makers of the hunger. The ones who decided which species rise, and which are devoured." Mara stared at the core. "You created this thing." "Created? No. Awakened. It was always here. Waiting. We simply gave it purpose." Kalen's hands clenched into fists. "And what purpose is that? Killing everything. Only the unworthy. The strong survive. The weak become fuel. It is balance." Kalen's voice grew sharper. "And humanity? Which are we?" The voice paused. "Then, you are fire. Brighter than most. But still, small." Mara gritted her teeth. "So we're just food to you?" The voice chuckled softly. "Not yet. You have impressed us. But one battle does not decide your fate." Kalen raised his weapon, aiming at the core. "Then maybe this will." Before he could fire, the voice said one last thing. "Destroy us, and the hunger will die. But so will the colony. And your ship. And you." Kalen hesitated. Mara looked at him. "Captain, what do we do?" Kalen lowered his weapon slightly, thinking hard. "Destroy the core, and lose everything. Or retreat, and leave the galaxy at the mercy of the architects." Then the voice spoke again. "Decide quickly, human. The hunger feeds, in 2 minutes." The chamber pulsed with blue light as the core thrummed like a living heart. The voice of the architects echoed again, cold and patient. 2 minutes, human. Choose." Kalen stood motionless, staring at the core. Behind him, Mara gripped her weapon tightly. The walls around them pulsed faster, as if sensing their hesitation. "Captain," Mara whispered. "If we destroy this thing, we go with it." Kalen's jaw tightened. "Maybe. But if we don't, billions die later." The voice of the architects cut in, calm but sharp. "A noble lie. You think your small fire can end our hunger. You cannot even escape its shadow." Kalen ignored it, tapping his ground team, "Report." Static answered first. Then a strained voice, "Evac pods loaded, last groups boarding now, enemy attacks increasing, hunger drawing closer, need 30 more seconds." Kalen turned to Mara. "That's our window. Cover me." Mara's eyes widened. "You're going to plant charges on the core?" "No," Kalen said. "I'm going to talk to it." Before she could argue, Kalen stepped forward, placing his hand against the core's surface. It was cold. Metallic. Alive. The voice of the architects shifted, less distant now, more curious. "You dare touch it? You think we will let you?" Kalen didn't answer with words. He let his thoughts speak, pushing his mind toward the strange alien consciousness inside. For a moment, nothing. Then, visions. He saw galaxies burning. Stars torn apart. Civilizations erased. The hunger had been here long before humanity, sweeping through ancient empires, feeding, leaving only silence. And always, the architects watched. Judging. Choosing. In the vision, one question rang clear. "Are you strong enough to matter?" Kalen's mind snapped back to the chamber. He gasped, his hand trembling. But his eyes were harder now. He spoke aloud. "You think strength is measured in firepower. You're wrong. Strength is standing when everything says you should fall." The architect's voice was silent for a moment. Then it said, "Prove it." The core pulsed brighter. The walls of the chamber rippled. And suddenly, shapes emerged. Figures. Tall, black silhouettes with glowing eyes. Sentinels of the hunger. Mara raised her weapon. Captain! Fire! Kalen barked. The chamber erupted in gunfire. Energy bolts lit the darkness, tearing through the air. The sentinels moved fast, striking with claws of light. Kalen ducked, firing 3 shots, dropping 1. Mara took down another, but more poured from the walls. Too many, she shouted. Kalen fired again, backing toward the shuttle. We don't need to win, we just need to last. The Ari's voice crackled over comms. Captain, colony evac complete. Drop pods returning to orbit. But, the hunger is moving closer. 30 seconds before impact. Kalen fired 1 last burst, blasting a sentinel in half. Then he turned to Mara. Back to the shuttle, now. They ran, leaping inside as more sentinels clawed at the hull. Kalen slammed the hatch shut, yelling, engines, full burn. The shuttle roared forward, breaking through the chamber wall in a storm of sparks and light. Behind them, the sentinels howled. Outside, the hunger shifted. It had felt the intrusion. It had felt Kalen's defiance. And now, it was angry. The massive creature turned toward the planet, its countless mouths glowing, charging for one final strike. On the shuttle, Mara shouted, Captain, it's going to eat the colony. Kalen gritted his teeth. Not if we starve it first. He turned to the AI. Link shuttle weapons with Resolute. All power to cannons. Target, the core. Mara's eyes widened. You're going to shoot through it from the outside? Yes. And when I say fire, fire everything. The hunger opened fully now, its shadow stretching wide, its mouth spilling light like burning suns. Kalen's voice stayed calm. On my mark. The shuttle broke free of the creature, streaking back toward the Resolute. Sparks still danced along the ship's hull. Systems flickered, barely alive. But the cannons glowed faintly, waiting. Kalen stared at the growing light of the hunger's mouths, then said one word. Fire. The cannons roared. The beam sliced through the hunger's surface, through layers of living matter, piercing deep into its core. For a moment, silence. Then, light exploded from within. The hunger convulsed. Its mouths froze. Its tendrils lashed wildly. Pieces of it tore away, dissolving into glowing shards. The voice of the architects returned, faint, fading. Interesting, humans, very interesting. Then, silence. The creature collapsed inward, imploding in a storm of light and shadow, until nothing remained. The shuttle docked with the Resolute. The crew cheered weakly, exhausted. But Kalen did not celebrate. Because as the void cleared, new signals appeared on sensors. Dozens. Hundreds. Ships. Not human. Not alien. Architect. And the AI whispered what Kalen already knew. Captain, this was only one hunger. The void lit up with shapes. Dozens of black vessels emerged from hyperspace, sleek and angular, their hulls glowing with the same silver runes seen on the hunger's core. Each ship was massive, larger than any human dreadnought. On the bridge of the Resolute, silence fell. The crew stared at the tactical display, watching as the readings multiplied. Mara whispered, Those are the architects. The AI confirmed, voice low. Affirmative. Design suggests advanced energy manipulation, gravitational control, and weapons power beyond anything we have recorded. Kalen stood tall, hands clasped behind his back. How many? The AI hesitated. 112, and counting. Mara swallowed hard. We can't fight that. Not with a crippled ship. No, Kalen said quietly. But we can warn everyone else. The comms crackled to life as the colony pods hailed them. Survivors spoke in shaky voices, thanking the Resolute for saving them. Kalen closed his eyes for a moment, listening, then opened them again, resolve hardening. Set a course for the nearest relay station, he ordered. Captain, the AI said cautiously, our engines cannot sustain a hyperspace jump of that distance. And the architect ships are advancing. Kalen turned to the crew. Then we hold long enough to send the message. The architect fleet began to spread out, forming a perfect battle line. No words. No demands. No offers. Only silent judgment. Then, the same voice from the core returned, broadcast across every channel. Humanity. You burn brighter than expected. But brightness alone does not prove worth. Kalen replied, calm and clear. Then tell us what does. Survival. Mara whispered, they mean, all of us. Earth. The colonies. The fleets. The voice continued. You will face the trial. You will face us. Or you will feed us. Choose. Kalen didn't flinch. We already chose. We fight. The architect fleet moved. Beams of light, sharper than any blade, lanced across space, cutting through asteroids, vaporizing debris, missing the Resolute by meters. A warning. Not yet a kill. Kalen activated the comms and began transmitting an emergency signal, a desperate plea for aid. Coordinates. Data on the hunger. A warning about the architects. Far across human space, deep space receivers caught the signal. Moments later, it was rebroadcast. Again. And again. Until every human outpost, every listening post, every ship received the same call. A single plea for help. On Earth, massive orbital cannons powered up. In distant colonies, sleeper fleets stirred from hiding. Old alliances were called upon. Forgotten war machines were reactivated. Humanity had been underestimated once. Never again. But for Kalen, help was still far away. The architect fleet was closing. Power levels, he asked. Critical, the AI said. Weapons, down to minimal output. Shields, 10%. Engines, failing. Mara gripped her chair. Captain, this is where it ends. Kalen looked out at the stars. Not yet. Not while we're still breathing. The first architect ship fired. The beam struck the Resolute squarely. Hull plating buckled. Fires erupted across multiple decks. The ship spun, alarms wailing. Kalen stood firm. Stabilize. Return fire. The cannons roared weakly, barely scratching the architect ship's shields. But it was enough to make the fleet pause. Just long enough for Kalen to speak again. Listen to me, he said, not just to his crew, but to the architects. You judge species by strength? Then see ours. Not just in weapons, but in will. In sacrifice. In the refusal to surrender. Silence followed. Then the architect voice replied, faintly amused. You wish to demonstrate will. Kalen smiled grimly. Watch. He turned to the AI. Prepare overload sequence. Core detonation. Mara's eyes widened. You're going to blow the ship? Yes, Kalen said. Right in the middle of their formation. But, Captain. No time, Kalen interrupted. You know what's at stake. The AI spoke softly. Detonation will erase this vessel completely. There will be no escape. Kalen nodded. I know. The architect fleet moved closer, curious now, their weapons momentarily still. Kalen stood at the center of the bridge, calm, almost peaceful. Mara, get to the pods. That's an order. She hesitated, tears in her eyes. Sir, I'm staying. Kalen gave her a small nod. Then let's make it count. The core began to overload. The ship trembled as energy built, brighter and brighter, until the entire hull glowed white-hot. The architect voice returned, sharper now. You would burn yourselves, to make a point. Kalen whispered, no. To light a fire you can't put out. And then, he triggered the detonation. The explosion ripped across space like the birth of a new star. Architect ships reeled, shields flaring, formations breaking. Shockwaves tore through the void, scattering smaller vessels like leaves in a storm. But more importantly, the signal of the Resolute's sacrifice echoed across every human comm line. Across colonies. Across fleets. Across Earth itself. A single message, burned into history. We are coming. Weeks later, architect probes reached human borders, only to find fleets waiting. Hundreds of ships. Weapons charged. Engines roaring. Humanity had answered. And somewhere, Deep in the stars, the architects whispered among themselves. Perhaps they are worthy after all. But the trial was only beginning.